Hello, welcome to the class this week. Each week I like to start with a joke. And since the theme for this week is about intuition, I'm hoping the joke comes to me. Uh, all right, well, these jokes about intuition are too subtle for the non intuitive to grasp. So if you're not laughing, that's why. Um, my name's Dr. Asatar Bear. I teach this class each week. This is heart rhythm meditation, a method of meditation that comes out of Sufism. Um, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you this evening. Um, let's start by getting a little bit of experience with this style of meditation. Do a quick kind of tune up meditation, and then we'll talk about the theme of intuition. So, first thing to do is just get yourself together, get your posture together, um, get yourself, seated in a way that is upright yet relaxed. Now, I like to sit in a way that my back is not touching the chair, right? Because I want that lifting kind of sensation, right? That upright kind of feeling. So I'm just I'm just kind of resting on the seat. The back is not touching. I'm not leaning back. I'm not leaning too far forward, right? So you want to just feel like you're upright, but you're not using a huge amount of force to remain that way, right? You have the force of gravity acting on you. Of course, the one we're aware of is the one that pulls us down to earth. But there's another force that's operating on us all the time, and that is the force of the rest of the universe, this direction right up here, also attracting us, right? So when you sit up straight, you become in tune with that, right? It feels like there's a certain energy that's lifting you up. It's a real thing. So see if you can become aware of that as you work on your posture, and just feeling that sensation almost like a string is just lifting your head up and keeping it there so that it doesn't feel like you're compressed. It feels like you're just at balance, at equilibrium. And then you close your eyes and you begin to tune into your breath. Focus on your belly and feel your belly rising and falling as you breathe. You may notice that we often are very guarded about our bellies. Our culture teaches us to keep a lot of armor, keep armor on our bellies, keep them tight, keep them sucked in. Well, this is a time to let them gloriously hang out. So as you as you breathe in, just really relax your belly and just feel it just relax from carrying that tension, right? Now, you are going to need to retain some tension, of course, because that's part of the breathing mechanism. That's part of what it takes to just remain upright. You have to retain some muscular force in your trunk, right? So, but there's layers to it, right? You might need less of that tension than you think. So try to just let your belly rise and fall as you breathe. And it actually triggers a different part of your nervous system. This is the relaxation response, or the relax and chill part of the nervous system, called the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, as you just pay attention to your breathing, notice your breathing is naturally getting slower. If that's not happening naturally, just extend your breath a little bit. Just breathe out a little bit more as you exhale, and breathe in a little more as you inhale. And pretty soon your breathing is going to be slower, and try to maintain that slower rhythm. When you breathe slowly, there is the risk that your body's rhythm slows down and your body might start to think, oh, sleepy time. This is why it's a good idea to sit up straight, because sitting up straight sends your body and your mind the very opposite message, right? It sends you, your body is sending to your whole nervous system and your mind as well, that this is a time to be alert and pay attention, right? And yet you have your eyes closed. So what are you paying attention to? What are you alert to? Well, of course, you're being alert to the inner world, and that begins with the breath. So far, we've been working on making the breath deep in the belly and slow, and now we want it to be rhythmic as well. So just notice this about your breath. Is it the same length and intensity on the inhalation as it is on the exhalation? You want them to be even, so same length of time that it takes to breathe in, same length of time that it takes to breathe out. Now, we would also like our breath not just to be focusing on the mechanics of the breathing process, like we are. We would also like the breath to be focused on the core of ourselves, right? Who we are, what we feel, what we're experiencing right now. And that is the heart. So we want to cultivate a feeling, an awareness as we breathe. As you breathe in, your heart is breathing in, right? What do we mean by that? What is heart, right? Well, it's all that you care about. It's all that you feel that you are. It's your ideals, your dreams, right? It's all of you. So what are you doing? You're paying attention to your breath. That's that vital stream of life essence. And you're bringing it into the core of yourself. A very profound thing to do. As you breathe into your heart, you might notice your heart beating. If you're not quite feeling that, maybe just leave your hand on your heart like this and listen for your heartbeat. Sometimes it can be helpful to press with the fingertips against your breastbone. Sometimes just that light pressure is enough to give you the sensation of the pulse in your fingertips. Now bring your heartbeat in rhythm with your breath so that you breathe in for, say, 8 beats of your heart, and then breathe out for 8 beats as well. And we're looking to make the breath now deep, slow, rhythmic, and heart centered. Now, this is a lot to focus on. This is a lot to do. So let's work with it the best you can. If you feel frustrated, if you feel that this is difficult, then good, you're seeing that accurately. It's difficult. It's very difficult to change your breathing pattern. It's about as difficult as changing the way you walk or the way you talk. These are long established patterns. It takes a lot of focus to change it. But why should you? Well, because by changing it, you'd have a very powerful effect on your entire nervous system, on your mind, on your emotions, all of this, right? If you don't change your breathing, you're not going to change your state very much. You know, if you do change your breathing, if you make your breathing optimal, you're going to give yourself tremendous energy that you can take with you on your inner journey, which is what meditation is, the inner journey. The last step of development of the breath is to make the breath full as well. And that is going to involve squeezing your abdominal muscles much harder than you normally do as you breathe out really as far as you can go, and control the breath on the inhalation. Your breath will want to rush in, but control it. Breathe and fill up your belly, and then continue and allow your ribs to expand. Allow the breath to feel like it's going all the way up to your collarbone, all right, between your hips and your collarbone. That's the whole area that you should feel moving as you breathe. Now, this takes some time to master. This might be the most difficult part of this whole thing. So you just work on it. There's layers to it. You might feel that you are struggling with your breath. That's a good struggle to have, because the struggle to control your breath, controlling your breath is controlling yourself at a very fundamental level. So this is the point of doing exercises, of the point of in yoga, this is called pranayama, breath control, or breath discipline, or since prana means breath and it also means energy, you could say it means energy control or energy discipline. All right, we'll end our session there. Hopefully, you got a little bit of a warm up there in terms of meditation. If it's new to you, welcome to the class. Um, so, I want to talk on the theme of intuition, right? Now, one of the things that happens in meditation is, you're going within, right? You're going on this inner journey, and what is it like in there, right? What is the vibe like within you? Um, what are the thoughts and feelings that you're experiencing, um, and what are the undercurrents of that, right? What is the current that has led to this thought, this feeling, right? There's always deeper currents, right? That's like the metaphor of yourself as a body of water, And we're normally kind of on the surface, right? Because this is where, we start to interact with the external world, right? Where the self ends and the external world begins, right? It has all this influence on us. So, you know, we're sort of like, that's where we're used to staying, right? Um, and of course, what's on the surface is affected by what's happening up here, right? So, but how is it being affected by the depths, right? What is welling up from the depths? So that's a topic for exploration, and that's a topic it's just going to happen naturally when you meditate. I mean, there's just now, of course, like anything you do in meditation, if you consciously go in that direction, you're gonna, that's gonna be a very different story than what might just happen sort of generically, let's say, right? Um, so, but even if you don't make any particular effort, right? If you sit quietly with your eyes closed and watch your breathing, you do it almost any style of meditation, right? Um, Stuff is going to come up. You're going to go on a journey of discovery. You're going to learn things about yourself, um, and you are going to get a whole range of, you know, experiences where if they're experiences of revelation, right? That meaning something is revealed, uh, and what is the source of this revelation, right? Um, well, a lot of it is yourself, because each one of us is a much deeper well than we even know, right? I mean, there's a whole world in there. Like I say, it's an inner world, and most of the time, we kind of just move on. It's like we're always building a castle higher and higher, right? With new experiences, adding on, right? And we hardly ever spend any time on those lower floors, let's say, right? Um, but of course, like the metaphor kind of breaks down, right? Because it's not just like some kind of linear, history or something like this, right? Because the way that we think about ourselves can change, right? And that changes everything that we think we knew about the past as well, right? Um, okay, so the point is, right? uh, exploring the inner life is a journey, and it's a worthwhile one, right? So a lot of what we get this revelation from ourselves, right? We get new insights on our past or on what we want, what we value, um, on well, maybe that causes us to reevaluate things, like how are we actually spending our time, um, and then there's like a kind of another category of revelation. And that's what I want. That's what I'm trying to get to, right? And that other category is intuition, right? It isn't really connected in any really like obvious way to something that understand, has happened to you, right? Um, or at least like, I mean, I should say there's lots of different categories of intuition. Some of it maybe is more connected than others, right? But there is a kind that just hits you like out of nowhere, right? Now, this is something to pay attention to as as you're learning meditation, as you're practicing meditation. Okay, it is look, you're going to be having thoughts, while you're meditating, right? Um, now, how do we work with these thoughts, right? We want to be always returning to the practice. So I've given you like a whole bunch of different things to do between your posture, right? Maybe, like get that right. Maybe you need to adjust it sometimes, right? I'm kind of like when I'm sitting, I'm always feeling my posture. I'm always like, am I starting to do something weird? Am I leaning forward, right? Am I maybe I'm leaning back, right? So I'm kind of just like always checking in. What's what's going on? Because the posture is another way to express like what's happening, right? Like you feeling like there's a burden on you. It's very common to kind of start expressing that in your posture, right? So you get information about what's happening by being aware of that, right? Um, okay, so the thing I'm trying to get to, right? The thought that hits you out of like a bolt out of the blue, right? That's the thing I'm trying to get to. So a lot of your thoughts follow from other thoughts, okay? Um, and you feel bad about having them. You say, "Oh, I've got monkey mind. Oh, my thoughts everywhere." All this. Um, that's just how it works. The your brain is going to be thinking thoughts, right? That's okay. Um, but we still want to be doing the practice, right? So that's the point of having a breathing practice, having a meditative practice where you're clear on like what am I trying to do here, right? Um, so what often happens, like I said, do these 5 things with your breath, right? Make it deep in your belly, make it slow, make it rhythmic, make it heart centered, and make it full. Okay, 5 things. Um, and that's a lot to work on actually, right? So if you're like, oh, I've gotten lost in my thoughts, what am I even doing? Okay, let me return. Am I doing the breathing, right? That gives you some place to go, right? Because it's like you otherwise you don't have a good place to go. You say, oh, stop thinking, what am I doing, right? But you want to be going to something, right? So that's the point of having like a method here, right? So most of your thoughts, what you're going to notice, they follow on the heels of other thoughts, right? So what about though sometimes one doesn't? It doesn't, it's not attached to anything else. It just hits you, right? Like boom. It's not anything like you were thinking about. It might not even be something that you were even interested in, right? What is that? Right? Um, well, that's interesting, Um, so at a minimum, with when something like that happens, like notice it, the thought that does not follow any other thought, right? And also notice how much energy does it have when it arrives, like some thoughts like that hit like a comet, and boom, oh man, there's a lot of energy there, right? I don't know what it means, um, but it like feels important, right? Um, so, all right, I mentioned the word to feel. That's another kind of clue, right? Which is how do you feel right now? How do you feel about what you're getting, right? important important uh, filter to go through, right? So hopefully this is helpful. Like even if you don't get anything usable from this, even if you don't get anything that you might do, well, you're still noticing something. You're still learning something about yourself, right? How do my thoughts work? What's the continuity? And then what's the break? When are there times when a thought just arrives out of nowhere, right? Not connected to the kind of chain of thoughts from before, right? Now, intuition, like anything, you can develop this the more that you practice it and you sort of intend for that, right? So, if you want to cultivate intuition, there's certain ways to go about it, right? And but the general idea is, you're trying to develop a sense that we all have. It's latent within us, right? It's a sense that goes beyond our physical senses, right? Um, that perceives energy and the movement of energy outside as well, right? And then sometimes gives us information about that, right? Um, so how would you like how would you develop that kind of sense? Um, well, you develop it by trying to use it. By saying, "Oh, well, maybe this is a situation where intuition, like maybe there is no rational answer here." I mean, how many decisions, how many times do we come to a fork in the road and there's no like, you know, there's not enough information to be able to like make some kind of rational decision, like, oh, let me weigh the costs and benefits or whatever, right? And maybe they're unknown or some portion of it is unknown. Um, you can't really do that, right? Let me weigh the probability of this or that thing happening. Well, again, if your information is limited, you don't know what the probabilities are. This isn't a roulette wheel. Um, so what do you do? I mean, you'd make a decision on any kind of grounds. Well, what if you said, let me just see what happens, right? Let me just, okay, I'm here with this dilemma or whatever, this choice. Um, let me just meditate and see what happens, right? And I'll ask, right? I'll ask my higher self, right? What is the, give me something. Okay. Give me some kind of hit. Um, well, that actually works, right? Um, now, before I go on, let me just talk about, well, who are you asking? That's a very important question, right? That's a very important point. Um, and this is one that gets to, well, what is it that you believe in? Where do you place your faith? In Sufism, this is a huge question. Where do you place your faith? What do you really believe in? Right? When push comes to shove, when you don't know what to do, you know, when you're asking, a lot of times we're not asking. A lot of times we're like, I know what's best for me. The rest of y'all shut the hell up, right? And that's we don't often ask, but sometimes there are these moments where we really want to know, right? Um, and so get clear on that, right? Who are you asking? What do you believe in? You know, um, so but maybe you're not sure what the answer to that is, right? So maybe I'll just suggest a kind of way of thinking about this that might work, whether whatever your religious beliefs are, or maybe they're none, is that you think, well, my highest and best self, the self that I wish I was all the time, right? The self that that knows the right thing, that does the right thing, um, that exists within you. Um, and maybe that's who you're asking. Maybe it's go within your heart and seek the wisdom that's there. The deepest part of it. Put your faith in yourself, your highest and deepest and best self. Right. So and maybe you find that is where God is. Right? Whether you use that term or not, um, that's up to you. The Sufism is like you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter, right? Um, and what matters is that that experience of connection, of unity, that is our true nature. We're one being. All right, so let's do another meditation here, and we'll try to just actualize this a little bit, right? Give you give you another shot at trying to do this. All right, so sit up straight again. Take your good upright posture here. Feel your weight on your sits bones pressing into your seat, and your head just as if it's just lifted by a string, giving you that wonderful balanced, alert, upright feeling. Now remember, what really can often trigger intuition is having a need for it. So is there a question that you need the answer to? I can't do this for you, right? I can't suggest some bullshit question, right? Because that may or may not do it. Like, but if you come with a real strong need, um, that has a lot more of a chance, right? Of giving you something. Nothing is 100%, of course, right? But sometimes you have to ask several times. That happens. Think of a question that you really want the answer to, and make your breath deep and slow and rhythmic and heart centered and full, like I described. Tune into your heartbeat. Bring your heartbeat in balance with your breath and rhythm with your breath. Same number of beats on the inhalation as you do on the exhalation. Breathing in, you're giving your heart tremendous energy, tremendous vitality, tremendous insight, wisdom, that feeling of connectedness, of unity, even. This is what love does. The heart, that's love is the heart, and the heart is love. And what happens when you feel for another person, when you care for another person, when you love another person, and you feel what they feel? Our hearts are all connected, our hearts are all one. So, tapping into your heart on this level, you're also tapping into wisdom and knowledge and experience that goes way beyond your own. Our own experience of life, my God, how small and limited that is, no matter how long we've lived, no matter how white and magnificent our beards might be. We've only lived a little tiny, tiny portion of life, right? But we tap into the connection between all hearts, between the one heart, really. And then all of that wisdom becomes available to us. And again, when you think of this, right, you're thinking of your highest and best self. Well, it's the same for others, right? Their highest and best selves. That is what is all connected. And there is a spirit here that has always been and will always be. And through our hearts, we can connect to that spirit. And we can exchange wisdom with it as well, right? With that one being. Now, you may be experiencing a number of things during the meditation, and it may be difficult to sort through it and say, well, okay, well, I didn't feel a bolt from the blue. What did I feel? So you check in with your body as you're doing your breathing. Scan through your body, just with your attention. Start at your feet and just move up your legs, move up your whole body and through your extremities, and just give yourself a scan. Is there some part of your body that wants to get your attention in some way? It feels something in particular. I'm getting a feeling in my hands right now, like my hands want to grip. Notice what are the feelings in your heart. Notice what are the thoughts in your mind. Everything that is happening within you means something. All right, well, we'll end our practice there and think about things a little bit more here, discuss it a little bit more. So we we have this way of tuning in, right, and of opening ourselves to whatever comes. Um, Now, if we think about the two sides of the breath, okay, the inhalation and the exhalation, maybe there's a period of holding. We didn't do that this evening, right? So when you think about receiving, okay, this is the inhalation, right? Energy, you're breathing in air through your nostrils. But you're breathing in energy. Your being is taking in energy, okay? So on the inhalation is a moment of receiving. It's a receptive energy. It's an energy of opening and right. What has dropped into my basket, right? So in particular, as you're doing this, right, as you're asking, you really pay attention to the inhalation. Okay. Now this dovetails with the rest of all the stuff that you've learned, right? So we're trying to make the breath deep and slow and rhythmic and heart centered and full, all these things, right? The breath is going to be longer, okay? When you breathe, our normal breathing rhythm is maybe, 20 breaths a minute, something like that, 20 or 25 breaths a minute. So we're taking a breath, like every few seconds, right? Every 3 seconds, I mean, between 2 and 3 seconds, right? So, we don't have much time to like appreciate the breath. We're not paying attention to it anyway, right? When you slow down your breath, the energy of the breath builds, right? Your inhalation is going to take a lot longer. If your inhalation takes 8 heartbeats, if you're doing that count, right? Now it depends on how fast your heart beats and whatever, right? Maybe your heart beats at, you know, 60 or 70 beats a minute or something, right? So 8 beats in might be, you know, 8 seconds, 7 or 8 seconds, right? It's much longer. You have more time to ponder. What is the energy of the breath? What is happening in the breath, right? The same as you exhale. More time elapses, right? You have time to just be in that space, be in that vibe, right? And you might have to repeat. This is like a swing that you're swinging out into into the fog, all right? And then you swing it back, and oh, maybe there's a note on it or something, right? Maybe something has come back, right? It's gone into the mystery, um, and okay, we inhale. What are we seeing here? What are we perceiving here, right? So now I hope you guys got something. Maybe you didn't though. That's the nature of this. This is like fishing. This is like sending something out on the swing. Do I get something, right? Intuition is like that. You can't force it. Like there's all these stories, all these fantastical stories in literature about fairies, right? And unicorns and like finding them and whatever. Oh, they're so mysterious, right? Um, so I think at least some of this is allegorical, right? Is about that, right? The Because fairies are like, they're like very intuitive, right? I mean, like they're not weighing the costs and benefits, right? They're very non-rational. They're very like free spirited and whatever, right? So that is all, whether it's an allegory or I don't know, right? But it's a good description of what intuition is like, right? You don't go and order it up, you don't go and intuition, get out here, right? No, that's not what we're talking about, right? That's not the um that comes from here, right? And that's what you can order around your own thoughts, good, that's fine, very important. But your thoughts are limited, right? Your thoughts are limited by your own rationality, by the conventions of your thinking, by your experiences, right? Your thoughts are painfully limited, okay? I mean, no matter how broad minded you are, no matter how well educated you are, your thoughts very limited, okay? Um, you know, I say this as a well educated person myself, um, there's no way that you can match the incredible breadth and richness of the kind of you know universal, global, interconnected heart of humanity, right? That heart of God. There's just no way, right? So what are the attitude that you're trying to practice as you do this, right? Is one of like, you know, I would love to get I would love to get something here. I'm not demanding, just asking. That would be great. But of course, what you find is that you develop a kind of facility with this, right? You ask a lot. And then there's another thing. Okay. So there's asking. And a lot of times you do get something, right? And then the next question is, what do you do with that? Right. And if you asked on a decision point, like, should I go this way or should I go this way? Right. Well, you, if you get something and it's clear enough to act on, the next question is, are you going to do it? Are you, that's a real question. Are you going to do it? What if you don't understand it very well? You know, what if it's seeming to tell you something that's actually quite risky? What if it's telling you something that seems like a kind of a bad idea? All of that, this is the journey, right? I mean, all of that is common. That is, that's how just like if you want to build a muscle, you got to lift heavier and heavier weight with it, right? You want to build intuition, you have to actually make an effort to listen to it, right? Um, do you have to listen to it all the time? Well, look, you do what you want. I'm not going to dictate to you. That's up to It's up to you. Um, but it's interesting. I'll just tell you, like from my own experience working with this and going down this path. Um, it's I don't always follow it, but I always take note, right? And sometimes I regret not following it. That's a trip right there. Like, um, so all right. The I, I hope I'm staying on topic with this. Right? Um, so you go through different layers here, right? Now, so sometimes people ask me this question, right? What's the difference between like intuition and something you just want to do? Um, well, look, if you want to do something, maybe you should do it, you know? like like is it not, as long as it's not hurting somebody else, like maybe you should do it, Desire is a very powerful human motivation. Like, I don't need to tell you that, right? You guys, your own desires are already telling you that, so I think what spiritual teachings have often been known for is saying that desire is not good, desire is not important, and that maybe you shouldn't follow it, that you should kind of do the opposite of it. Um, that's that's one approach to spirituality, right? To say rise above your desires, learn about yourself in a way that is timeless, okay? And desires not timeless, right? Desire is like, I want this now, right? That's not timeless. That's very time bound. It's very temporal. Give me this, yes, right? So if we want to learn about our spirit, right, our transcendent spirit, then we have to go beyond what we think we know, right? And most of what we know is desires. Okay, so one spiritual teaching has said we need to deny our desires to go beyond that, right? But of course, other spiritual traditions have said, well, maybe some of these desires are really connected to our souls and spirits, who we are on a really deep level. Maybe we should listen to those desires. Maybe we should do them. Um, Maybe those desires are a key in some way to what we should be actually doing in this life, right? Um, Again, they need to go through a process of refinement, you know, again, we don't want to be doing something that is harming others, right? I mean, that's an important, thing to just put out there, right? Like, we're not the only person in the universe, right? I mean, like, other people have their lives and their desires as well, right? So, we that's important, right? But we don't want to deny our desires either, right? We don't want to say, "Oh, you want something now, then bad, not spiritual," right? No, not at all, right? Yeah, we have these desires for a reason. What we want to do is take our desires and connect them to the highest, best, deepest, most universal part of ourselves, right? Connect them and refine them, right? So what is it that you really want so deeply, right? And let's think about it in a broad way, right? That is, you know, in terms of what could you become, right? Like, what what is your potential? What are you longing to be, to become, right? How does your desire connect to that, right? Advance that, okay? So things to think about as you work with this, right? Are you going to get desires that come up? Yeah. And then you say, "Oh, damn it! I didn't do it right. The Dr. Bear said, work with the intuition, and then I just want to do this. How is that intuition?" Well, maybe it is, and maybe it isn't, right? Like, but the point is, you did learn something, right? You did get something. Okay, this is what I want. Good. That's important, right? Like, if you thought you didn't have a dog in this fight, well, now you know you do, right? So, okay, you want that one to win. Um, Now, it's true that that's not going to be a good situation to use intuition, because desires is so powerful. Like, what should you be doing in that situation? You should be thinking about your desire. You should be refining your desire. You should be, like, work with that. Like, you don't need intuition. Um, Intuition is for when you don't have that, right? Like, I don't have a strong desire to go on either path, right? Um, but I have to choose one, and I'd like some help right now. I'll take either one, right? I'll take I'll take the help. If you have a strong desire, it's like, no, I don't need help. Maybe I need to think about what is. Well, you have some other stuff to think about. Let's say, right? Yeah. Okay. Um, Desire is very, very powerful, right? We want to listen to that too, like if you start meditating and you start feeling a lot of desire, pay attention to that, right? That's what if you're feeling a lot of anything, this is what I'm saying. Go where the energy is, right? You're feeling something strong, that's energy, right? What is it telling you? What is the experience? Try to embrace it, you know? Even if it seems to you to be something quite negative, even if it's painful or scary, and this happens, like meditation um, is not all unicorns and rainbows, um, anybody who says it is just that's just not honest, um, because the inner journey, it's like any journey. There's things that we don't understand within us, right? As we come to understand them, as we come in touch with them, it's going to trigger pain. That will, I mean, like, I'll guarantee you that that'll happen. How about that? Like, I'm not gonna, I won't guarantee you it won't happen. I will guarantee you that it will happen. Right? So, and that's good because that is significant of growth and of change, right? um, which our hearts are longing for. Like, our hearts don't like being stagnant. Our hearts don't like, oh, I'm not advancing, I'm not progressing. That's so it's like dying. We want to grow, we want to expand, we want to reach our potential, right? Very primal kind of desire that flows out of our hearts. All right. All right, so let's do one more meditation, and we'll see what we get this time. We'll ask again. Okay, so take your good upright posture. Tune into your breath now. Make your breath deep and slow and rhythmic and heart-centered. Tune into the beats of your heart. Same number of beats on the inhalation as on the exhalation. 8 beats in, 8 beats out. That might be a count that works for you. If it's not, then you can certainly choose a different one. Focusing on the inhalation now. Just taking in energy and vitality and love. That's what the breath is. What if you experience it that way? What if you say, I'm taking in that which keeps me alive? I'm breathing in my sustenance right now on an incredibly fundamental level. None of us would live long without the breath. What if I experienced that? What if I thought of that as my heart taking in love? And as I breathe out, my heart radiates love. It's that feeling of happiness, contentment, connectedness, right? Or even if there's pain, it's pain that is connected to the hearts of others. And that makes it different, doesn't it? I mean, when you share a pain together with somebody else, it binds you together. It makes it far more bearable, doesn't it? Now, I don't wish any pain on you, of course, my friends. I mean, life is painful enough. We don't seek it out, but it's there in our hearts anyway, isn't it? You might be just feeling it just from my suggestion that you think of the breath as love coming into your heart. Sometimes that is just so like, oh, we just fight that, like it feels like too much somehow. Do we deserve it? Did we earn it? Well, listen to me. Nobody earns love. That's an absurd way of thinking about it that somehow was put on you. It's not real. You're loved because you're loved. There's no other explanation that's needed. All you need to do is just take it in. Just open your heart wide and just breathe it in. And on the exhalation, as you breathe out, then you spread that energy, that vibe. You radiate that love. And all those who are connected to you heart to heart will feel that on some level. And just like the string next to the one that's being played on a violin will also vibrate. Now, perhaps you have a question in mind. Maybe you don't even have a question. Sometimes we want we want to connect to that intuition, and we don't even have a question. maybe that, maybe that's your situation tonight. Don't know what to ask. Well, you can come with a kind of that can be the general thing, right? Swing that swing out, and whatever comes back. you know, the clearer and more precise your question is, then probably the more precise of an answer you can get, right? But you could still ask in general. I'm not asking for anything in particular, but just give me whatever you think I need. Really putting a lot of faith in the bartender here. You send that swing out and breathe it in. It kind of goes out into the mists. Maybe it's out there for a long time, and then you breathe in. And what arises? What message is there in your heart? Those of you who are with me now, maybe you've felt that moment of connection. Here we are, different parts of the world, right? But we're doing the same thing at the same time, focusing on the ways that our hearts are all connected, all one. There's something special in that. That's why I do this live. There's a power in that, even if we aren't in the same physical space. The space doesn't really matter that much, not energetically. It's like when you really love somebody, you feel them with you, even when they're far away, right? Because they're in your heart. All right, we'll end our meditation there. I hope you got something that maybe makes sense to you, or maybe it doesn't make sense. Sometimes that's the nature of the fairy, after all, right? The intuition that you get, you might puzzle over it. Might not be immediately apparent what it means. There may be a process that you have to go through. Tell me more. What does this mean? How does this connect? Right? That's part of it. Everything is part of it. Right? That's the general thrust of my remarks this evening, and maybe a good summary of the whole thing as well. Right? everything is part of it. Uh, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening. If you'd like to support the show, check out my Patreon page. It's linked in the description. If you have questions about working with intuition or anything else related to meditation, I'd love to answer those. Drop me a comment or send me a message on Twitter or something like that. Um, and oh, Mario, thank you. Very relaxed now. Glad to hear it. Very good. We should feel relaxed, right? We got too many things already that are winding us up. We need a good way of winding ourselves down. You know, uh, very important. So I'm here each week. Um, my co-teacher Leah Schaefer had to miss this evening, so of course I miss her very much. But she'll be back next week. And until then, namaste. Hope to sit with you all again in the future. Take care.